Hey everyone, welcome to day 68 of building the flight booking engine. I am trying to think of ways to wrap this project up and the number of things I want to do offline. Okay. Others will be private, they won't be in the public, so that I can have the MVP sorted and I focus on those private kind of like paid features and then focus on other content. Okay. What I want to do on this channel. Now, today we're going to deal with HTTP only cookies. And I'll start with a little bit of theory, then I'll take you to the part that I know everybody wants, which is the code. And I think, yeah, let me start. Let's get started. So to understand HTTP only cookies, you need to understand what XSS is, okay? And this topic of HTTP only cookies and local storage, okay, is something a topic that is very common in the software development industry, and you can always choose depending on your use case. Okay, but yeah, hear me out. To appreciate the cookies, okay, the HTTP only cookie, you have to know about what is called the XSS attack, okay, which is cross-site scripting attack. Which attack is this? What is an XSS attack? It's when a hacker, okay, or an attacker injects malicious scripts into your web application. And this malicious script, of course, will be built using JavaScript 99% of the time, okay? And when your users load the page having this malicious JavaScript, that script, okay, runs in the user's browser and it allows the user to steal data, okay, things like cookies, tokens, okay, and that attacker, because they have cookies and maybe data like local storage data, they can perform actions as the user. That's the disadvantage, okay, of having secure things like access tokens in session tokens or local storage, because anything which can be accessed by JavaScript, okay, can be hijacked, can be taken. So we need a secure way of working with access tokens without having to expose them. Here comes HTTP only cookies. So an HTTP only cookie is a cookie which works in the browser and cannot be accessed by JavaScript. Okay, like if I can inspect, let me go to another page. Okay, and I inspect. If I inspect, for example, this page, and I go to console, okay, using JavaScript, if I clear this, say clear, okay, clear from up here and say document dot cookie, and then I hit enter. Okay, you see for now it's empty. Okay, but if there were cookies, I would be able to see them. Okay, so now a cookie which is called an HTTP only cookie is a browser cookie which cannot be accessed by JavaScript. So if you say document.cookie, you'll not be able to access it. And it helps to protect sensitive data, okay? Or cookies like session IDs from being stolen via XSS attacks. Okay, so if malicious attacker injects malicious JavaScript into the web application, they will not be able to get the data. Okay, so in short, XSS, okay, tries to steal data, but HTTP only cookies help to prevent that attack. As simple as that. Now we are going to have a flow of events, okay, which I've tried to summarize here. Like I'm going to go to the editor and I'll show you how it all comes about. Okay, so the first thing is that a client will send a post request like always. Okay, client will send a post request with their email and password, okay, to the same token endpoint that we defined long time ago. And then after that, the server, of course, like we've been doing, will be responsible for validating the credentials. Then the server creates the GWT. We have been doing this all along, okay? But there is going to be a difference. We are going to set, okay, a cookie on the response, okay? And this cookie will be called, like I've told you, an HTTP only cookie, okay? So you're going to see, okay? We're going to set an access token, okay? The cookie will be called an access token, okay? And the value will be the GWT, okay? So we're not going to return a GWT in the response anymore, okay? So, and of course the server will just return the usual data, okay? Something like that. And the browser will be responsible for handling that cookie automatically. We shall not have to pass an authorization bearer header anymore, okay? So the browser will store that cookie automatically and send it on every request. How will that happen? Okay. So when the browser or the client makes a request, okay, we shall say add credentials. Okay. There's a configuration called credentials include, okay, which will simply tell the browser to include the HTTP only cookie, which is simply our access token. Okay. So the browser will attach that access token. The key will be access token, and its value will be the GWT token that we created. Okay. And as usual, the get current user function on the backend will be responsible for checking authorization. Okay. Header first. So if there's no header, okay, we shall have a fallback. Okay. But I think I removed this. Okay. I think I removed this. Yeah. When I was doing some iterations. Okay. But we shall verify. Okay. I'll verify. Either way, it won't spoil the flow. Okay. So in case everything is okay, the user is returned like always. So for logout, there's going to be a logout endpoint, okay? When you send a post request to that logout endpoint, okay, the server deletes the cookie, okay? And of course, because it has been deleted, the browser will also remove it, okay? So the client's local state will also be cleared. So I hope you've understand what, I hope you've understood what an XSS, okay? Wow. I'll bite my tongue trying to pronounce these letters, okay? I hope you've understood what an XSS attack is, why we need the HTTP only cookie, okay, and the flow. So let me go to the editor. And I've been trying to experiment with anti-gravity over the past few weeks to see how it performs and how good it is. All right. So I think let me start with the backend, okay? And once you understand the things, once you understand the concept, it's what matters, okay? You can implement it however you like. So I'll start with the utilities, okay? In utilities, there's a nice class, okay? And this class, let me expand so you can see the code better. There is a very awesome class, okay? This class, okay, has functions for HTTP only cookie authentication. On line 8 and 9, I have simply import statements, okay? Importing OS and a typed dict from typing. Then I have a class here, which simply defines cookie settings, okay? And has the HTTP only, which will be a Boolean, secure, which is a Boolean, SameSite, which is a string, and max age, which is an integer. Then there's a function here called isProduction, which simply returns a Boolean, okay, whether we're in production or not. So it says os.getEnvironment, okay. If it is not there, the default would be development, okay. But whatever value we get from the environment, we convert it to lowercase, and check if it's equals to production. So if it is equals to production, we shall return true, else false. Then you have a function here for checking, for getting the cookie settings, okay? And it returns this, a type of this class. Now, the first thing here is that we check, are we in production or not? Okay, so make sure that in your .env or environment, you have an environment variable, okay, that is saying environment equals to development, if you're in development. If you're in production, it should be production. Why do I have this environment variable? Because the HTTP only cookie has an interesting configuration, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So I go to cookies.py, and so you see we get the access token expiration time, okay? We get it from the environment variable, okay? If it's not there, we say 30 minutes, okay? So we then return cookie settings. HTTP only is true, okay? Secure equals to prod, okay? Is prod, which is from this function. If it is true, this will only work over HTTPS, okay? If it is false, it will work over HTTP. And because I'm in development, I am working over HTTP and not HTTPS. Okay. So in production, it will be true and will only work over HTTPS. Okay. Then there's something I want you to find out. What do you mean? What do you think this means? SameSite equals to lax. But I'll give you a hint. Okay. This simply means that links, okay, external top level navigation links, okay, will be accepted. Okay. For example, if I copied a link to maybe a particular booking page, okay, and pasted it in the browser, this would allow, okay. I want to give you some work. Go and find out the values that can go to SameSite. There are two other values, okay. Find out. I don't want to give you everything, okay. Try to find out. It's not very hard, okay. A simple Google search or a simple AI search will give you values for this. Then after that, we put the maximum age when it will expire. We get the access token expire minutes time was 60. Why? Because an hour has 60 minutes. As simple as that. Then we have what is called the cookie domain. So this domain string is used for production, okay? On development, we simply return none, okay? So I check if you're in production, so we are simply reusing this other function up here. If you're in production, then we get the cookie domain if it's there. Otherwise, return none. So yeah, that's the gist of cookies.py, and this is the main thing. The rest is actually very simple. You're going to see. Maybe let me go security.py first to show you a few things. So yeah, use local storage only when you need to. Okay. Local storage, for example, if you wanted to maybe to store things like user preferences, like does someone want dark mode or light mode, local storage is okay. Okay, even if an attacker hacked and found that maybe your user is using light mode, that wouldn't hurt you that much. You get, yeah. So no worries about that. So the number of things that's changed, okay, that change. For example, you see like on line 16, I say auto error equals to false, okay, and that is because I want to show you. That is because in case things fail, okay, in case things fail. Oh my god, sometimes I hate when you're busy in something and then there are several interruptions. Okay, let me just handle this real quick and we go. I think one of the days I should resume to recorded stuff to avoid, because this when you're recording you get the chance to edit or to re-record, but in a live stream, okay, you can't do that. Okay, All right, so I was explaining where I added auto error equals to false, okay? This auto error equals to false in auth2 password bearer in FastAPI makes authentication optional, okay? It allows in a way that, okay, it allows us to have authentication optional in a way that it allows you to handle missing or invalid tokens manually within your application logic, okay? Instead of the application raising a 401 unauthorized, okay? So the whole goal of this is for me and you to handle it manually, okay? We don't want it to raise a 401, okay? Error code, which means you're not authenticated. So I'm going to show you how I now changed it to work manually. It's very easy, okay? Did I change? Let me go down here. So there's this method. Do you remember this method, get current user? Okay. By now, I'm sure you're very familiar with it, okay? We wrote it and we have been using it a lot. So in get current user, I had a new addition. On line 78, we now have a request, okay? Why do we have a request? It's because the cookie is going to be set by the browser on the request. So when the browser or the client, okay, let me not say browser, but client, when the client makes a request, okay, that request will have the cookie, the HTTP only cookie. That is why I have added here request, okay? And where do I do the manual check? Here, okay? I say if there's no token, okay? If this token has not been passed, okay? That means this auth2 scheme, we have not got a token from this auth2 scheme. What happens is that we now try to get it from the cookie. Say request.cookies.get access token. This is only possible because I said up here, let me show you, auto error equals to false. If auto error is true, which is the default, this will fail. You get, it will fail. It will throw a 401 error and it will deny us the chance to catch. It will deny us the chance to manually handle the authentication. Okay. So in case there's no token, this will be bypassed. Okay. And we shall have our own logic here. Okay. For checking. If not token, we try to get it from the cookie. And that cookie, like I said, is going to have a key called access token, which comes from the request. That's why I added request here. Okay. So, and request is simply from FastAPI. Okay. From FastAPI, I imported request. And this is something I did in that series when I was learning FastAPI. Quite easy. All right. So if there's no cookie, okay, it will be none. And this is where we catch it. One more time. If no token, we raise a credentials exception, which is simply this definition up here. Okay. So you see how easy it is. Nothing complex. So by simply adding auto error equals to false and having this check that if there's no token, pick it from the cookie. But if from the cookies, there's no access token, simply raise a credentials exception. That's how easy it is, okay? Then the old logic that we have been using continues, okay? We go ahead to decode the token, get the pub, okay? Check if email is none, okay? Select the user, okay? If the email is none or the user is none, we raise a credentials exception, okay? If we fail to decode the token, we have an exception called an invalid token error, okay? Otherwise, if things are good, we return a user. So this is something we did a long time ago, okay? More than 40, 50 streams in the past. This is very easy, isn't it? Very easy. So yeah, that's the logic. Then down here, so I'll close this. Then there's this one here, which we now use for the SSE. Do you remember the SSE? The server sent events. Do you remember? Randolph Richards says, when will we see more Django live streams coming? And what will be the next project you'll be working on? Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know, Randolph. I don't know if I've done a Django live stream. Please remind me. But I've done a number of Django videos. Unless I balance. What do you say? Okay. Next thing which has been requested for the most has been microservices. Okay. I wanted to build a project to show microservices, okay, architecture with FastAPI or even Django, does not really matter, but I wanted to do it with FastAPI. And that's the top thing I've got requests for, okay, in the comments. And the other thing I had in mind is just doing a series on AI integration, okay? Not AI integration, but AI engineering, okay? A zero to hero of AI engineering. I was also thinking about a FastAPI crash course, like bare bones crash course for like absolute beginners. Then also, I've been thinking about, I think that's all. Microservices project, AI engineering zero to hero, Docker zero to hero, FastAPI for absolute beginners. Yeah, but Django surely should come up. I was thinking of doing something concerning Django and GraphQL, or Django, or even just going to the Django ORM. I've discovered people use Django, but not that much. Okay, do I expect? So I wanted to just do something about Django models and Django ORM in depth, like go real deep into it. Yeah, but any ideas are welcome, Richard. I'm open to hearing from you. Okay, so in this one, not get current user, but get user from token. Okay, applies to the SSE, the server sent event. So if you missed that, check the playlist, okay? It's a very nice concept to know and to use in your application, okay, for notifications. So the same thing, okay? We try to get the token from the cookie, okay? If it's not there, we raise a exception. The same logic, okay? Only that this one is going to be used by server set events. The difference is this, okay? Having to use depends and stuff like that, okay? But even there's a way I can unite them. Yeah. But let me keep it simple for now, okay? It's the MVP. Then this other stuff, pretty much the same, okay? So that's what we have in security.py. It's quite easy, trust me. Then, what can I show you? Maybe in schemas, I changed something here, which is just simply this, okay? I removed the token itself, okay? I just left token type and user info. Because we're not sending the token anymore. We want to set it on the response. Now, here comes the cool stuff, okay? The real implementation. If I go to routers, excuse me, routers, go to users.py. Richard, I'm waiting for your response. What do you think? Do you want like a Django tutorial, Django REST framework? I have a Django tutorial, I think, on this channel. I haven't done Django REST framework yet. That is something probably to consider. Okay, so in the users router, okay, I'm now going to show you the implementation of the stuff. If I go to, I want to minimize register to log in, okay? The first thing I add is the response, okay? Where is response coming from? If you learned FastAPI with me, you remember that response is simply something we inherit from, not inherit, but import from FastAPI, okay? And simply gives you a response, a generic response object, okay? And on this response, okay, is where we now set the access token. So you see, we have create access token, like always, all these other things are okay. Authenticating the user, okay, some validation, okay, then creating the access token. Then this time we now set the HTTP only cookie. What do? I first call that method. Remember the method I showed you in the, let me go to it. This one here, get cookies. get cookie settings. Okay, it returns cookie settings. When it returns them, we have them in this variable. Okay, then we get cookie domain. Cookie domain is still this one, which I explained to you in the beginning. So when we get the cookie settings and get the cookie domain, then on the response, we say response dot set cookie. Very easy. Then you say the key is access token. So that later, let me show you. So that later when we go to utils security.py, okay, you can say cookies.get. Okay. So you can only get access token, you can only get a key which has been set on the response. So here, if I change this key to something like YouTube, okay, here security will fail. Even here I have to change it to YouTube. You get? That's all the whole idea. They have to match. So I'll undo, get here, undo. Okay, then the value of that key, okay, the value of this key is the access token, which is being generated by this function called create access token, the same function we've been using. Okay, then after that, HttpOnly we get from the settings. Okay, settings. We get the key. Remember, this returns a dictionary. So whatever the value is here, we set it. Okay, because if I go here, you see, it says HttpOnly equals to true. So for us, it will always be true. Okay, secure also from the cookie settings. SameSite also from cookie settings. Please do what I told you to do. Okay, please do what I told you to do. Okay, don't forget. Search about this SameSite. I know why. I want you guys to have that mind of planning things on your own. Okay. Then max edge, we pick it from the cookie settings. Then the domain, we get it from the cookie domain function up here. Just that. The rest is the same thing. Okay. The rest is the same thing we did. Okay. Then at the end, are you seeing the difference? I just return token type equals to bearer, user info equals user info. There's no token anymore being returned to the user. Do you see that? In fact, even here I can simplify it and only return user info. No need for returning a token type. Okay. So do it in your project. Remember, I always tell you to own this project, fork it or clone and make it your own. Richard is saying, I would love to go through a Django plus DRF project with you for complete beginners. I think that would be fun. Flask could get a look in as well. No problem. Definitely something I can plan and have. Yeah, I think after I can, the number of things I can do concurrently, I can do microservices very fast. Okay. One thing I've learned from this project is I shouldn't make it too long. Okay. There are things I can do privately and the things I can only show in public. Okay. So for microservices, I do not need to reach 60 days like this. Okay. If possible, I want to try to do 10 maximum, if possible. Okay. For the microservices, that will allow me to do things like Django plus DRF, Docker shortly, very fast, okay? So that I can give time for other things. So if I do like microservices in 10 videos, I can later do videos at any time for advanced things, okay? Concerning microservices or Django and DRF and stuff like that, or Flask. Okay, then I have another path operation, okay, which will be responsible for logging out the user. But logging out is simply deleting the cookie. What do? You simply say response to delete cookie. Okay, then you pass the same data. The access token, HTTP only true, is secure, same site. Okay, you can even decide to pick the settings from here, this function called get cookie settings. So it's very simple. Okay, to set it, you call the set cookie function on the response. To delete, you say delete cookie. So let's go to OAuth. In OAuth here, the Google login. I hope you all remember Google login. It was just a few days ago. For Google login, I do something similar. Okay. Let me say equivalent. Okay. At the end. Okay. So this time I don't, these comments don't even make sense anymore. I've discovered some comments make sense when you're coding, but later when you're done coding, you don't need them. So you see how the URL is, okay? But what is important is this, okay? On the response this time, okay? I say response.setCookie, and everything else is the same. And you can see I'm using get cookie settings and get cookie domain. But the main function is set cookie. So if you think your config will never change, okay, you can actually hard code them here, okay? I wouldn't advise you to do that. So I hope you love this concept of HTTP only cookies. Let's look at notifications, where we're going to have our server set events, okay? Look at this, okay? The notification stream. I now add the request because it's the request that is going to help us to get the cookies, okay? So this time in the get current user, get user from token, okay? I pass the request, okay? And if you go to that function, get user from request, I see what I do when I'm getting user from request. I just explain this. Don't forget, okay? I'm just teasing, but I know that I explained this, okay? So get user from token, okay? Takes in the request and gives us that current user. As simple as that. So to notification stream, I simply add the request so that we're able to pass that request, okay? And this function will be responsible for picking the token or the cookie, the HTTP only cookie from our function. I mean from our request, okay? From the user request. The same thing for unread count stream, okay? I added request, okay? And then here we call the same function, get user from token, which will take in the request and will extract the access token, okay, from the cookie. So the front end will not set anything, okay? So I think that is it. Let's now go to the front end, okay? And I show you. I've not spent a lot of time on the front end, but if there are things on the front end that you want me to explain to you, don't always hesitate to ask, okay? But it's quite easy. The nice thing about understanding basics of programming, once you know the basics, does not matter whether it's Python or Go or C or TypeScript, JavaScript, PHP, things make sense. You understand them. So on the front end, I'll start from showing you here in utils or utils auth dot. No, actually, to make it simple, I'll go to app and I show you, for example, admin. Okay. So admin is importing a number of things. Okay. API client is unauthorized error and get API based URL. Okay. Those functions are used for a number of things. Let me minimize this. I want to just show you where the cookie is being set. No. This is not a good example. What I should be showing you is auth login. Yeah. Auth login and even here booking, actually. Booking ID. Should have actually been the first. Okay. So I want to show you API client, all the things. I want to show you this lib. Okay. I built a small internal library. Just minimize and I show you where is it? Sometimes you can, it's normal to even forget your own code base, okay? But I'm avoiding the hard work. I thought I would show you a shortcut, but let me just show you, okay? Let me jump steps, okay? Not even jumping steps, but because ideally I can explain from any point, okay? So in our auth state, okay? In our Zustand store, look at this, okay? The auth state has some changes, okay? A few changes. There is no login function anymore. I simply have the set user. We shall simply be storing user information. We shall be persisting user information. There'll be nothing like login anymore. Because once the browser sees that cookie from the backend, it will store it automatically and send it on every request. So let me show you a few things. So you see here, the set user simply sets the user and the user info, okay? And says authenticated to true. Logout, okay, says await API client dot post, okay, and makes a request to the logout. Okay, now I have to explain to you what API client is. Okay, I'm going to explain to you what API client is because it's in multiple places. Okay, so let's go to API client. So I'll close this. So in lib, I think this new folder called lib. Okay, if I open lib and go to api.ts, there's very nice TypeScript which has been written here. Okay, I'm already seeing redundancy. Are you seeing this? This is wrong. Let me remove this. Okay, now first of all, I have an interface. Okay, called API error, which simply represents a status, which is a number, represents a message, which is a string, represents the error detail, okay, which is optional. That is why there's a question mark. Question mark means it's optional, but it's also a string. That's done. Then there's what they call, I have an API client error, which extends the default error. So error is inbuilt in JavaScript. So extends in JavaScript means you're doing inheritance, okay? So OOP concept still applies also here in JavaScript. So extends means you're inheriting. So error is the parent class, API client error is the parent class, child class, okay, or subclass. So it has some class level attributes, okay? Status, which is a number, and detail, which is a string, and detail is optional. Then it has a constructor. Think about it as the init, okay, method of JavaScript or TypeScript, okay? So this is like the init, okay, in Python. So this constructor takes in the status, which is a number, the message, which is a string, and the detail, which is an optional string. So that question mark means optional. Then super is passing the message to the error class. Okay, super calls the parent class or super class. Then you say this.name equals to API client error. Okay, because this error has a name attribute. Say this.status equals to status. Okay, this.detail equals to detail. This is like saying self in Python. Okay, yeah. So self refers to the current instance. This also refers to the current instance or current object. So you see, the concepts are the same. Like I told you, all you need to do is understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, you can basically write this anywhere. Okay, and you can use AI generate code for you. And you can understand it and code review it as fast as you want. Okay, so that is so we have two errors: API error and API client error. Then I have a simple type called HTTP method. Okay, which is simply either a get, a post, a put, or patch, or delete. Okay, it must be one of these and nothing else. Do you see that? Yeah, one of those or nothing else. Then we have request options. Okay, request options, we can either give us headers or parameters, but both of them are optional. Okay, that's why you see they have question marks. Their types, they are records. Okay, where their keys and values are both strings. Then we have a function here. Okay, for making requests. Okay, follow me closely. I'm going to explain it. Okay, so it says async function requests is async because it's going to be creating asynchronous operations. Request T is a generic. Okay, T means the type is going to be anything. Okay, so it's what they call generics. Okay, meaning this can be any type, like you're going to see. I'm going to show you how it's going to be any type. It can be anything. It could be a request for a booking. T can be a booking. T can be an order. T can be a login. T can be an upload. T can be any kind of request. Okay. Yeah. Any kind of resource. Okay. The resource could be a booking, an upload, I don't know, a payment. That's why I said T. That's why it's T. Then you see the method would be HTTP method, which is this type here. Okay. Endpoint, the endpoint will be a string like /booking/1. The body will be optional. That's why it has a question mark. And the type is unknown. Okay, could literally be anything. Then a number of options, which are of type request options. Those request options are here. Okay, headers or parameters. And for now, by default, is an empty object. The return type. This defines the return type. It will be a promise. A promise is simply something which will happen later in future. And T means it could be of any type. Okay, T is a placeholder. Then inside it, okay, we now make a request. Say const URL const new URL. We build a URL, API based URL, okay, which is this one, okay, and then add the endpoint, which will be passed here. As simple as that. Then if there are options, if options.params, okay, for every option, say object.entries, okay, for each of them, okay, we pick the key and value. Then we append to the URL search params. As simple as that. Then if there's any header, okay, we build this headers object, okay, by using this spread operator by saying options dot headers, okay, and of course it has been annotated as a record. So options dot headers. So a spread operator, these 3 dots means spread, okay, in JavaScript or TypeScript. So it means apply everything in options dot headers in this object. Then here, if the body exists, okay, and it's not an instance of form data, then they say the header will be, the content type of the header will be application JSON. Then finally, we do a fetch to the URL.string. Why .string? Because we have these such params being added, okay? So just convert it to a string, okay? Then pass the method, headers, and credentials. This is the nice part, okay? Credentials include. So when you say credentials include, okay, the browser will attach the HTTP only cookie, okay, and the number of arguments you can pass to these credentials. Include is one of them. There are 2 others. Also, I want you to go and find out those 2 other options, okay. Again, it's just a quick Google search or asking AI or go to MDN, okay. If you ask AI, prove on MDN if it is true. Okay, if you Google, still go to MDN and prove. Okay, so I can remove this comment. Then the body, okay, if the body is instance of form data, okay, simply it's just logical rendering. Okay, the whether it's form data or not. Okay, we decide to either stringify or send something undefined. Then down here, if the response is not okay, okay, we can pick the detail. The detail can be the string or undefined. Okay, then if there's an error, we await response to .json, okay, then pick that detail, okay. When we have it, at the end, you simply throw a new API client error. That's the first thing I explained to you up here. You see? Quite easy, quite easy. So if there's anything you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask. So then in case things are okay, I mean things like a code of 204, when you like delete, okay, we simply return an empty object because it's a 204. Otherwise, we simply return the response.json. Very easy, isn't it? What do I want? Actually, here I think it should be await. Okay, turn await. Even that would be okay because actually we're expecting a promise. Then after that, okay, so this is for making the request. Okay, then down here I also have a number of generics. Okay, look at this. It's called API client. Inside here, these generics, I have generics for getting, posting, put, patch, delete, upload. Okay, let me explain one by one. The first one is for making get request. Say get, okay. The type will be T. Generic means it can be anything. T means anything, okay. And this get function will take an endpoint, okay. Options, okay, which is of type request options. What is request options? Up here. This one here, okay. And it returns a promise of type T. So T is a generic. So to create a generic in JavaScript or TypeScript, you put this what? Angle brackets, then T T means could be anything. Okay, so generic. Then we return a request. So what is request? Request is this function here. Okay, of what? Of type T, meaning could be anything. Okay, remember request here takes a method. So the method, let me minimize this so I can easily show you. So in this case, the request takes the method. In this case, it is get. Okay, will be the value here. Then pass the endpoint, which will be the value here. And because we are getting, the body will be undefined. Where is it? Here. Body will be undefined. Then options. Same thing for post. Post of what? The generic T could be anything. The endpoint, the body, which is optional, options also optional, of the same type, and returns the promise, which could be anything. Okay, then say return request. This time the method is post with the endpoint, the body, and options. Okay, put, the same structure for put. Okay, and also the similar structure for patch. Okay, what is only changing is this first value here. Even delete, what is changing is this first value, and also the body here is undefined. So all this delete, patch, put, post, get are making calls to fetch this function here. Okay, so these things, sometimes you need to give it concentration, read the code, understand it. That's what matters. Okay, don't cram. Okay, don't cram, read the code, understand it. If it's not clear, I am here to explain the very details. Now, if you go to upload, you see the same thing, but there's a slight difference. Okay, upload takes in the endpoint. Okay, then takes in from data. Okay, then options, which are optional. Okay, but also returns a promise of any type. So it says return request, post, endpoint, from data, and options. That's why when you go to request, there's something interesting. In requests, I wanted to I can show you. Okay, you're seeing this one, we're checking for body is not instance of from data. Okay, it mattered so much. Even here the body. Okay, so if body is instance of from data, okay, give us the body. Otherwise, if the body exists, stringify it. Otherwise, keep it undefined. You get. That's what it means. Okay, is the body an instance of form data? If it is, simply we use it. If it's not, again we check if the body exists. Can we stringify it? Otherwise, give us an undefined. Let it be undefined. For example, in maybe a GET request. So this is the API client object for you. Okay. So we shall be saying API client.get, API client.post. Now here we have a definition of an authorized error. Okay. In case it's an authorized error, and this type is unknown because we may not know it, but it will return Boolean, meaning you're either unauthorized or not. We simply return that if the error is an instance of API client error, which we defined up here, okay, if it is, okay, and the error.status equals to 401, this will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Then we move on. Say it says export function get API base URL simply returns the string, which is the API base URL. Then we have a function saying export default API client. Okay, now we need to see the use of that. Now you'll understand. So let me just leave it open and go to, did they talk about utils? Okay, utils. Okay, for utils, nothing really changed apart from using this new type. Okay, using this new type called user info is what was being used. Okay, if you go to types, okay, you see we have user info just modified a little bit. Okay, that's what we're using. There's nothing new about it. So utils is done. Types, we're just from showing you, I showed you the types. Maybe hooks. I can first go to hooks. So in hooks, now you see from this library, okay, we import this function get API base URL. It's here. Okay, import API client and get API base URL, okay, which are these ones, get API base URL, okay, and this API client. You get. Then what matters is now what we do with them. So here now, you see, when we are fetching notifications, now we say API client dot get. Okay. Now remember, I showed you here API client dot get text in a generic T. T could be anything. Okay. In this case, it is notification, and these two square brackets mean list. Dot get a list of notifications, which means here it will be, this type will be a list of notification, and the promise here type will be also notification list, or list of notifications. Do you see how easy that is? Okay. This is now like going a level a little bit higher, okay, in code. Then the endpoint, this endpoint will be this one, this string being passed. Okay. If there's even a way of simplifying all this, I think I'll do it. Sometimes when I'm in live streams, I get ideas of things which I think people should know, but I want to end this. Okay, I want to end this. I don't want to ever make it too long again. It become boring. Okay, so we have that. Okay, API client dot get. See how cool it is. Okay. Then what else? What else? Okay, yeah. So I think here, line 61. Previously, we were sending the token as a query param. Okay, but that's dangerous. This time with event source. Remember, this is for the SSE. If you missed that stream of SSE, go back and watch it. For the SSE, you know what we do? We simply say with credentials true, it will attach the HTTP only cookie for all our server sent event endpoints. Okay, very simple. No need for doing the logic we had, which was actually risky. So on this is enough with credentials true. Okay, everything else is the same. Let me scroll to see if there's anything I changed. Okay, these are just changes because of what we did up there, but it's not even that big. Let me see what else. What else? So you see, even here we use the API client. We say API client dot put. Okay, we pass the URL. Okay, API client dot delete. Yeah, so that's it for notifications. Where else? Okay, now we can go to app. Okay, I rushed getting here and I almost confused you guys. In profile, okay, we get the API client, all the major things we need from the library, our small library. And then I'm simply looking for where we, okay, so you see logout, we now say state.logout. Okay, now I can explain to that logout function. Okay, if I go to logout, okay, it calls now API client.post logout. So API client.post, okay, and simply passes the endpoint. Okay, remember the body and options are optional. Why? Because of these question marks. So simply does that. Okay. What else did I change? Even here, okay. When for change password, it says API client.change password. Okay. This is something I need to test. Okay, but I just refactored it. So I think for the error, this now helps us say if the error is an instance of API client error, we know what to do. Okay. It's much better. It's nicer logic. The rest is simply JSX. If I go to, I think I've been to hooks, close profile. We go here. We also import from our library. Then we use now same thing from the state is authenticated. Okay. Where are changes? Okay. Then here you see we check for the unauthorized error. Okay. If you're unauthorized, then we log out. I think that is it for here. I don't see any other change. If you see, please let me know. I'll be happy to explain. For the booking ID page, I think we have a similar thing, okay? We import from our library. And then, of course, we have authenticated from use auth. I see, so after creating things for something, you see that you now have very useless comments. Some comments just help you to learn. I'm going to remove them. Just need to pay for Claude, okay? And clean it, okay? So you see, API client.post, okay? This time we pass this as a type. Pretty nice, okay? Look at this. Is unauthorized error. So we're using what our stuff from the API client class. Error, instance of API client error. Same stuff. Okay. So in summary, that library is going to be very useful. Let me show you. But there's a difference, okay? Let me wrap up. The difference is on logging in. For logging in, because you're going to send form data, okay? Are you seeing these headers? Okay? Content type is application XWD form URL encoded because of the auth2 mechanism, okay? We simply say credentials include true, okay? I mean credentials include, okay? Then what am I looking for? Okay, this. Are you seeing this? Here we are calling the fetch API directly because of this kind of header. We're not saying API client. Okay, we are saying await fetch, which is the only one time we are doing that. Okay. This comment I think I can remove. No, let me leave it. Okay. Auth to users username as as username. No, let me leave this comment. Okay. It's important because you can see this and say, but why is it username when we are sending an email? Then you change it to email and cry forever. So let me leave it like that. What else? Google, for the Google callback. Process callback. Okay, set user is what we're now using. Okay, can remove this comment. We're now calling set user instead of login. I think that is it. I think I can test. In case of any issue, yeah, I will debug in my free time. So the same thing for the admin. Okay, import from the library. Then see, we're using is unauthorized error check. Then maybe logout. Same thing here. Then logout. You see, for the event source with credentials true. Okay, so that the HTTP only cookie is added to our server sent event request. Pretty nice. Yeah, pretty nice. I think I'm going to do a lot of cleanup on the front end, okay? And on the back end, and just push to GitHub so that you guys have a cleaner code base, the way I envision it to be. Now, let's try it out, okay? I'll just restart the front end, restart the back end, okay? If anything is broken, yeah, that will be my work for tomorrow. I don't want to overdo this, okay? So you can see Kafka, Grafana, Prometheus, our database, literally everything is like running, okay? So let's see. Okay, not bad. Go to login, continue with Google. Okay, select this Google account, continue. Okay, so if it works, there we are. It has worked. Okay, so I can go to my bookings. Okay, I can go to my booking details. You can see I was playing around with something a few hours ago. Okay, the flight booking has been confirmed. Okay, if I click pay now, this payment widget should also show up. Okay, Then I can click on visa. Yeah, pretty nice. I like this. Okay, so I don't want to go over this again and again because I know we have done this multiple times. Okay, I wanted to show you that we're having authentication very okay. Okay, maybe let me zoom out so that you have the actual perspective of the design. Okay, so you see, pretty nice. Yeah, we've moved a distance, and yeah, we'll step by step. Okay, there are things I want to do, and I think I'll just do them offline. Things like forgot password. Do you want me to explain to you forgot password and change password, or should I just do it offline and push so that we go to other things? The things I'm thinking about, like forgot password, change password, remember me, I can do that offline. I'm thinking of maybe deploy to Kubernetes if possible. Argo CD. A few things come to my mind, but I want to wrap up. Okay, I want this to take maybe, if possible, maximum. The last time I said 10, should be now around 4 or 3. Three, if possible, 3 streams, and we wrap this up. Okay, and we start more cool stuff like the microservices, Django, DRF, Docker. I want to because we're in the age of AI, I want to focus more of system thinking. Okay, system thinking is very important. The system thinking is because, like you see in this series, the first thing I began with was not microservice, but system design. I don't know if you guys remember. Day one was system design and architecture. Guys, if you're enjoying this, please like the video. Okay, like the video. It helps with YouTube. Like the video, leave a comment, share. Okay, with people in your network. This is the time to like and tell YouTube, yeah, this is okay. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Let's meet in the next stream. I hope you've learned something and you've got something valuable that you can use to build in your projects or at your job. So